And in fact, I can give you this shot like that. Okay, I'm looking at it from behind, but here we all are.
Will you be able to see yourself?
Yeah, scooch in just a little bit and then we'll be good.
Wait, me?
Yeah,
oh.
Both of you.
Hello.
Hello. Can everybody hear us? I'm gonna look at the chat to make sure that we can be heard. Okay.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. My water.
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome to a Klavan family Christmas.
Fiasco.
No, we believe in Spencer. It's KFC. It's a Klavan family. Fried. All right, there it is.
Yeah, yes, we can
There
hear
we go.
you.
It is
Okay.
vertical.
It's vertical.
It's vertical.
I can't see you, though.
For some reason. Yeah.
Hey,
This is
Turn the sound off.
on a delay. So we're going to turn this off. They can hear us.
Great.
And I am going to pull back a little bit so that I'm in the shot. And then I think we'll all be in the shot.
Right.
So here we are. Welcome to KFC.
May I take your order?
So can we see if we are on the?
Yeah.
Right.
I will look.
Because you were a little bit.
I was cut off from the family.
Yes.
From the family tree.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like
From the
will.
inheritance.
Kind of like the will.
Exactly. Just like that. Okay. There we go. There we are.
All right.
Okay. Loud and clear. Yeah. So far so good,
So
everyone.
far, so good.
Good job.
And welcome. We're glad you're here. We hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. We ate like pigs. It was
Speak for
destruction.
yourself.
There were actually police gathered outside saying this eating has to stop. It was so disgusting. And
Yeah, they called us. It was a special dispensation. I think this is part of Zoran Mamdani's.
Yes, we are
regime.
actually in the future former New York.
Mhm.
It will very soon be a socialist paradise where everyone will be happy and equal, and the buses will be free. That's an interesting concept, a free bus. Like, who pays for the free buses? Like, it's just like descend.
It will descend from on high.
You're getting off topic.
It's actually, it masquerades as his plan for public transportation. It's actually his plan for facing the homelessness problem. Because they'll all ride around
In the
buses.
That's already happening. That's already happening now.
So here's the important thing. The reason we've asked you all here is to buy our books. So we have 3 books. We all have books. A Christmas Carol by Faith Moore. After that, The Dark by me. And by Spencer, Light of the Mind, Light of the World. If you have not bought them, then we have no dealings with you.
Yeah, unfortunately, you'll be kicked off the stream in 15 seconds.
We reject you personally,
Right.
spiritually, and in every other way. However, if you bought them,
We're
welcome.
leaving.
Yeah.
We're done with you.
Welcome into this paradisical socialist paradise where we sit. We got all your questions, and is there a chat? Like, can there be more questions?
There can be more questions. There's a chat.
But we should read off the questions that we got first.
Yes, first come, first serve.
Yeah.
There's even an AI summary of the questions.
An AI summary.
So the computer can just make up questions that we didn't actually get.
Burn it with fire.
Right. The Bible's nature is God's desired book, says the AI is one of the subjects. Of our
I don't even
subjects.
understand that. Was that word?
I don't know.
Well, let's read the actual.
I think we'll start with the actual questions. And many of them, this being a cozy holiday live stream, have to do with Christmas traditions.
Right.
So I think we should begin with a dire and profound issue for our times. Favorite Christmas carol and why?
All right. Faith?
Okay, well, I don't know the name of this. No, I do. I know the name of it, but I don't know the word.
You didn't prepare for this at all.
No, and because what would be the fun in that? It's the one called Angel's Carol.
Yes.
And I think it's by John Rudder, right?
And you know the name of the person who wrote it.
I just told you, it's John Rudder.
Oh, John Rudder, I'm sorry.
No, I know the lyrics to it because
Yeah.
I
What's
sang
the
in choir
beginning
once.
part?
Have you heard the news?
Yes, thank you.
That has come from heaven,
Yes,
shining out so brightly, or something. Yes.
Shining out so
Clear.
clear. Yeah.
Yes.
That is a beautiful, beautiful.
It's
Yes,
really nice.
okay.
Really nice. Yes.
So I think, you know, I hate to be boring, but for Silent Night still is to me
No.
the king of Christmas carols.
Okay.
Mhm.
I find it incredibly beautiful every time I hear it, especially when they sing it in candlelight at the end of a Christmas service.
Yeah.
I'm always deeply moved by it. But I like all of the ones that sound as if, even though I know many of them aren't, they sound as if they're medieval. So like
right.
the apple tree, you know, Jesus Christ, the apple tree I love, and I love the one about Mary that we were hearing just the other day.
Yes.
To me be as it pleases him.
Oh, yeah.
She said, yeah.
This is actually just a
Most
concert.
highly favorite thing. Yeah, exactly.
It's most
As
highly
soon as
favorite
we're like,
thing.
The
Yeah.
worst concert you've ever seen. This concert you're ever
It's the best live stream and the worst Christmas concert.
Exactly.
But however, I like all those songs, but Silent Night to me is the king of Christmas carols.
Okay.
It has good lyrics.
Yes.
It's very pretty.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel in these scenarios, this is a very stressful source of questions for me because I feel like my role is to come up with something incredibly obscure,
Right.
Yes,
medieval, and in fact, I do. Now that you mention it, well, so having just spent the past month being annoying and grumpy online about how people shouldn't be singing Christmas carols
Right.
now because it is erasure of my birthday,
Yeah.
which happens before Thanksgiving.
Right, that's
Also
over now.
Thanksgiving, it's all over. We can technically let the wild rumpus start.
Yeah.
However, on Sunday, Advent begins, and so
Yes.
true curmudgeons like OG Grumps think now is the time for Advent carols, of which there are some good ones. The best one being O Come, Emmanuel,
Yes.
which is actually maybe the only one.
Well, this is the thing with my church, which is the grumpy church.
Right.
We don't sing Christmas carols until Christmas Day, and then we stop.
Oh.
So we just sing O Come Emmanuel again and again and again. We want to make sure we have no fun.
There is the other one, which is about Second Advent. You've heard about First Advent, Pip, but what about Second Advent,
Okay.
which is the second coming?
Oh.
So technically at Advent, you're supposed to be waiting for the First Advent and looking forward to
okay.
the second coming, so you can also sing Loki Comes with Clouds Descending,
That's nice.
which is very, very nice, except that it has a whole line about how, like, the Jews
Yes.
deeply wailing.
I kind of mutter that one.
Yeah. Anyway, I like O Come, Emmanuel, and I like O Holy Night, if I
Yeah,
can
oh,
sing it.
Yeah, but the problem is with O Holy Night is that nobody sings it well.
That's true.
It's like, it's beautiful,
Yeah,
but every rendition of it is really awful.
Warbly.
Now everyone's gonna email me and be like, but this version of it, yes.
And that will only prove your point because
No, I trust you all. I'm sure you're gonna send me one that is lovely.
Yeah, we can.
But it's really never sung well.
All right, let's do it. We don't want to just
Just
spend all
talk
our
about
time on
Christmas
it.
carols.
This is like
We
my
could.
all access, like
I
answer
know.
one question.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay. I love a good redemption story, and I recently read Mr. Klavan's book, The Great Good Thing. My question is this, I guess for us, how did your dad's coming to faith in Christ affect you?
Oh, and fascinating
Did
question.
it lead to your own faith conversion? That is a fascinating question, and I think we could also flip it on you and ask, what was it like to have, like, what was your
Heathen children.
yes, to have unsaved, unbaptized, damned children.
Well, I've been damning you for years.
Right.
I'm probably passing the job off to God. Well, I will say that your reaction to news of my conversion was so much in keeping with your personalities.
Mhm.
That I said to you, I just want to let you know that I'm becoming a Christian, and you said, cool. And I said to Faith, I want you to let you know that I'm becoming a Christian, and you said, are you on crack? That was my reaction. It was like, and the hardest one was telling Mom, because I tell Mom everything, but I hadn't told her anything about this because I couldn't believe it was happening. I was so shocked it was happening. And she was great. I mean, she could have here she married a Jewish liberal.
Yeah.
She ends up with a Christian conservative. She never blinked. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
was very, very sweet about it. But it must have had an effect on you guys, I mean, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it totally did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always hard for me to trace the timing exactly
Yeah.
because I was baptized when I was 18,
Right.
and that was the end of like a maybe 4-year long journey. And I think because you were so close to the vest about it, I don't actually exactly know like what you were up to during each of those years. Like you were basically converted by the time I started thinking about it, but we weren't going to church together, and I think definitely it made it possible for me to take it seriously as an option that you had converted, because like we've told this story a million times, but like we grew up in a sort of open-ended setting, right? It was like you go, there is no official creed, anything is on the table, you can explore it for yourself. But I think that the functional reality of that was then I went to school and it was like the high noon of the new atheism, right? It was when, you know, smart people were all in love with Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins, and like I would say I was an annoying Reddit atheist before there were annoying Reddit atheists. And so I think the fact that you had converted definitely meant that like that was permissible and possible, but that my own journey to faith has like its own, like a very separate texture to me, in my memory at least, was like its own thing about questions I was wrestling with at the time, I think. But permission is, the permission structure.
Yeah, I mean, mine had nothing to do with yours. I mean, I was very adamantly like, I am not doing this. And because we had grown up, and I felt like you and I had all these conversations about how could you believe, how could people believe this when we can't know it for sure, and then I mean, I think that's why I had such a big reaction, is because you and I had talked about that so much, and then to have you say, actually, I'm one of them, one of these people, right? Like, so then, yes, exactly. So I was sort of like, what are you talking about? And then there was a chunk of, I don't really remember the timeline either. I was the last one of the three of us to convert. There was a chunk of time where then I would come home, because I was already out of the house and on my own. And so then I would come home and go to church with you all, but not in any way sort of believing in anything. But I actually have always found church very moving, even when and people taking communion in particular has always been very moving to me. And I used to be in church a lot because I would sing, right? So we would go to a church and the choir would sing and then everybody would do church. And so I was not sort of opposed to that idea, but I was opposed to actual belief. And so, I mean, people who know me have heard my story already, but I came to religion through a miscarriage that I had, so like in tragedy, and it was completely separate from any of this. And I think, I mean, the hardest part for me, of course, is sort of saying like, well, actually, I also, after all of my like, what is wrong with you people, having to come back and be like, well, actually, so I don't know. I feel like it was all separate. Like I don't think that your converting definitely didn't cause me to think that I should convert. Which I guess is a sort of testament to your parenting, in the sense that you weren't ever sort of forcing us to be any way. That you,
as long as you sent money.
Yes, exactly. But
it's very hard because, first of all, I think there's this impulse to never, like, there's this modern sort of idea that you're supposed to be a completely self-made person. So there's this impulse to be like, no, it had nothing to do at all. Like I was not I had my own journey, which is very true for each of us, and did arise out of the secular place where we started, which was like everyone seeks the truth kind of sincerely in his or her heart, and then as happens, like God, worked through suffering in your life, which he famously often does, and sort of led me down this intellectual road and all these things. And so now you think like, well, you want to pass on faith to your children, and it's like, if we were born today, would you raise us as religious or what?
That's a really interesting question. I mean, first of all, I regret, I mean, it was totally honest and sincere, so I don't regret it morally, but I regret that we didn't go to church as a family. I think that would have been a good thing. Every family that I know that has been to church remembers it fondly and all that stuff. So I definitely would have done that. I would never have been able, it's not in my personality to force you to believe in something that is so central to your approach to life. I would have modeled it you know,
Yeah.
and I wish I had that capability, but I didn't because I didn't believe myself. And I would have modeled it, I would have stuck with it, but I would never have like said, get out of my house, or, any of that stuff, and like I said, as long as you were sending me money, I was fine with wherever you were. No, I think it's important, I saw this statistic the other day, that a father's belief leads to children believing more than any other indicator.
Huh.
And so I wish I could have delivered that, but I had to go on the journey. You have to go on the journey that you're gonna go on. And I get this all the time, like, how do I convince so-and-so to do this? How do I convince my wife to do that? And I just think, like, you don't do that, You live your life as joyful. The one thing that always occurred to me as a parent was that it was not enough to do the right thing, you had to do it with pleasure. You had to enjoy, love doing the right thing. And I remember, talking to Mom about that, and like, I think that was good. And if I had been a Christian, I would have been a Christian with pleasure, or not at all. All right, we should.
Yes, we should. Once again, we should move on. Actually, this is closely related, but perhaps less heavy. First of all, I love listening to all three of you. A secret to surviving the Klavan week. This is very important.
Yes.
So listen up, everybody,
Yes.
because otherwise,
Your life depends on it.
yeah, it's really like, you're on your own. The secret to surviving the Klavan week is listening to Faith's story time for grown-ups.
This is true.
It is true. It's just that somebody called Faith the secret third Klavan, because you have another last name.
I am
right?
the secret third Klavan,
Yeah,
yes.
and this, so you might not know, but you should go if you aren't already and subscribe to Storytime for Grown-ups. And then the other thing that you can do to have Klavans wherever you want them at any time is to buy A Christmas Carol or Christmas Carol by Faith Moore.
Or any of these.
Or any of these books. My question for all of you: how do you stay close with your family when everyone lives far away? I'd love to hear any advice or family traditions that help you stay connected. Thanks for all you do.
Well, I will tell you that when I lived in California, and you lived in California for part of that time,
Yes.
so that was nice.
Yes.
But when you were in New York and I was in California, it was a stone in my shoe to not be able to see the grandkids growing up. That really bothered me. And so now, when I picked a place to live, I picked a place right between you, and we make a point of traveling, to see you as often as we can, and I see you a little bit, maybe a little bit more.
You used to.
I used to.
You needed to do your show down the wire and come
that's
out
right.
and
Now
now
it's
you
not
have
as
a
much.
bunch.
But I make time. You guys are younger and therefore theoretically more busy.
No, I think,
Make it a priority.
Yeah, and I think like you and I have a weekly time to talk to each other.
Mhm.
So you put that on the calendar,
Yeah.
and that helps, right? Because it's there, and you know not to break it, or to break it and let the person know, or whatever.
Totally.
And I come to your place at least once a month.
Right, and you come and visit us, and I think it's about, this person is looking for actual like tips and
Yeah.
suggestions.
Yeah.
So I think probably it's about being really intentional about it, right?
Sure.
Sort of
Yes.
saying to the people that you want to stay close with, like, I would like to maintain a connection with you.
Yeah.
And so, how can we do that? Should we video chat every week or every month or
Right.
whatever? Should I visit you and you visit me? How can we make that happen? And I think also with kids, like the video chatting is great, because if you do regularly video chat with little children, then when you do visit, if you can't visit as often, when you do visit, they actually recognize you and they know who you are and they have a relationship with you. So I mean, that's really cool and an important thing to do. So, you think about like, oh, I'm the adult child, I'm gonna call my mom on the phone. Just call her on FaceTime or whatever video you use, because then your little kids running around in the background will know that person's
Yes,
voice
exactly.
and that person's face,
Mhm.
as opposed to like, well, I have maintained this connection, but I'm so sad because my children don't know their grandparents very well, and when they come to visit, everybody's upset because nobody recognizes anybody else, right? I mean, that's really upsetting for people.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, because you can just be on the video.
We used to say when your kids were younger that we would come visit for the holidays, and then when we left, we'd say, okay, we're going back into the computer now.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, part of my journey. Speaking of the way your, parents' story affects your own, like, you have written a whole book about how you really had to break away from your
Yes,
family
yes.
in a whole bunch of ways.
Yes.
Spiritually, emotionally, even geographically. And that was something we knew growing up. And even though you never said, and therefore, like, you must now go away from us. Like, I think I just had that picture in my head of like how you grow up, right? You go off into the world and become this atomic unit, completely freestanding. And so I went to college on the other side of the country and like kind of disappeared off the map for a while, I feel, and suddenly realized that that wasn't like that was a concession, or like that was a problem that you had, not like the way that
Not
things
the
are
way to
supposed to
do,
go.
yeah.
Right?
It was awful, yeah.
Yeah. And again, like there is this sort of modernist, like it's very historically unusual that we live in this time where people grow up and then like detach geographically.
Totally,
Yeah.
and it's also this idea that you have to rebel against your parents, all teenagers
Right.
It's totally untrue.
No, it's like, made. I mean, there's definitely there's always been a generational turnover
Sure.
where people have new ideas,
Yeah.
and it's whatever, but like, usually you live in the, several mile radius of your family, and
No, it's my crappy generation came up with this. They blew everything, they destroyed everything that our parents made. It's like,
So, go on. Okay. So, we have a question about bourbon, which perhaps is, actually, I really like this one. To each of us, what is your favorite book written by each of the other two?
ooh,
Yeah.
okay. What is,
I only have 2 books,
Yeah.
and that doesn't count, so you can just talk amongst yourselves.
well, no, I mean, I think my favorite of your books is Saving Cinderella.
Okay.
I think that was a really original and interesting book that I think should have, I think you self-published it.
I did.
Yeah, and I thought that could have easily been a very, very big selling book. And I think, I liked the concept of your first book, but I think Light of the Mind, Light of the World is just a quantum leap, and I think it's just a really solid and original book that I just enjoyed every page of it. So.
Wow, thank you. And I completely agree. I mean, I like about your opinion about my books. But that's, I mean, my favorite Frank Lloyd Wright quote is people used to ask him, "What's your favorite building?" And he would say, "The next one."
The next
Yeah.
one,
And
Yeah.
so, I feel that way about the book that I'm writing now, and I'm sure each of us.
as you
But,
should, yeah.
Yes.
but I have a definite answer for you, Dad, and it's Werewolf Cop.
Ah, yeah. My worst title.
You always say that, people say that, I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't know if it's absolutely, I've actually not read all of your books,
No.
like full disclosure, confession, but that is the one that I read like right after leaving for grad school in a foreign country, and it felt like there's like a lot of you in that book, and I really like to be connected to you through. Also, it's a great, incredible story. Yeah.
That's funny. I have a similar
Really?
experience. Yes, my favorite of your books is Don't Say a Word.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it is because I'm in it, and you say I'm not, right? But the other thing is I had come home early from a family trip. I forget where we all were. But I was a teenager, and I'd come home early because I thought I could hang out with my boyfriend, who is not my husband now, so another person who was not nice, because then he did not hang out with me instead. And so I was alone in our house with nobody, and everyone was on whatever vacation we had been on. My friends were all off on their vacations or whatever. And I read that book in one day. And so it was really, really good, but also it was kind of like, I'm alone in our house, but I'm reading your book.
Right, yeah.
And I told you the story as I was writing the book. You were a little child.
Yes, is that the one you? Well, you told me a lot of your books.
Yeah, but I told it to you as I was and to amuse you, to entertain you.
I didn't know
So,
that.
yes, it was
Well, you used to tell me a lot of books.
And I do have to mention that I'm coming to the end of the graphic novel of World.
Oh yeah, that's
Which
right.
I'm doing with an artist friend, and he. I kind of have to go at his pace because he's drawing the pictures, but it looks good. It looks really good. It works well, and I hope it'll bring people to the novel. Which my usual publisher turned that book down.
Yeah.
He hated supernatural stories, so I had to publish it with another publisher. And I keep teasing him because he keeps making money. Hey, every time I get a royalty check, I
Look
get
at that.
another one.
More royalties that you really get. Yeah. there's some line in Sunday in the Park with George, the wonderful Stephen Sondheim musical, about, it's this relationship between a really obsessive artist, painter, and the woman who loves him but can't quite understand him. Like he's too, but she admires his genius, but he's very, very difficult to like relate to. And at some point she says something like, "You don't care about me," and he says like, "I care about the work, and you are in the work, and I am in the work." And like, and
I've had this conversation with your mother.
yes, and when I think about these books that we've read that connect us to Dad, like everyone who writes has this feeling sometimes, like it's so cool online that you can meet the people that read the books, and it's so cool that you can have a like relationship with your audience, etc. But sometimes when I like run into people on the streets and they say like, "Oh, I've read your book" or whatever, and then they want to have a conversation, it's like there's much less of interest here than what you've already gotten. Like there's there's sort of like the best of me is like in the book.
True.
And so I love Christmas Carol and Saving Cinderella. I have a lot of affection for Christmas Carol, especially. It made me cry ugly tears.
Excellent. Then I've done my job.
I really like that one. And I guess
yes, and Light of the Mind, Light of the
Yeah.
World, because I read it and I understood it, and so I felt like you were doing. I mean, I understood your other one too, but I feel like this is a topic that I shouldn't understand at all because I'm not a very good reader and I don't understand it. And I felt like I was very engaged throughout, and I completely understood what you were saying. And I feel like that means that you've done an excellent job. So that's my favorite.
Or it's all made up, or it's like
whatever. Who's to say?
who knows? Right? Terrific. Okay. There's another one about writing projects, which we should come back to, I think, but that's a subject we've just dealt with. So, what for Andrew? What were Faith and Spencer like on Christmas morning?
On Christmas morning?
Yes, did they wake up early, refuse to go to bed?
Oh my God, they were so early. And it was always like, we would have these late Christmas nights, and we'd have Christmas Eve dinner or something like that, and it's not like I was a raging drunk, but maybe you'd have a couple of extra glasses of wine, and then you'd go to bed, and it'd be midnight, and then at 5 o'clock in the morning, there you were with your adorable little faces, and you had to drag your ass up. I have a vivid memory of you when you were really little, having Christmas with your grandparents' moms, and they put on a Christmas like it was unbelievable. I mean, it was almost too much. It was just but I remember you're coming out and just having like this look. You had walked into this wonderland, and it was like. And your grandfather was so into Christmas, it was just like looked and looked, and that I remember very vividly. And you would just sort of stare into your whiskey as a child. What does it even mean?
Yeah. There was great significance to the passage of time. Okay, we have some questions. I think these are your listeners, Faith, from kids.
The kids, yes,
really
there
love.
are kids listening right now because I'm reading
that I should watch my language.
Well, I don't know if they're listening right this second, but they're listening to Storytime for Grown-Ups because we're reading a family book for Christmas.
I want to say first of all that there are such lovely things being said in the chat right now as we were talking
Let's
about.
just stop and read the
books.
chat.
Yes. Everyone, it's funny, when we started saying what's your favorite book, somebody said, and why is it Werewolf Come? So I guess I'm not alone in this. There was this, Werewolf Cop is my favorite book ever, not just my favorite Klavan book. Somebody says to me, thank you so much for the Isaiah translation you shared.
Oh, that's great.
Very nice,
Yeah, gosh, that's
another book that should be published by a major book.
Someday, you never know. Well, I'm about to write my translation if you need it, so maybe we'll put them out together. Yes, that's at rejoice-evermore.com. Gosh, it's been so long, but if you want to read that, it's at Rejoice Evermore. Okay, hello, my name is Samara, and I am 11 years old. Hi, Samara. I'd love to know each of your favorite type of genre for a book.
Oh.
To read, I think.
To read, yes. Well, this is not a genre, but
Mhm.
I would like it to be a book that has a love story, but is not a love story.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's not romance. I don't like romance as a genre.
Mhm.
But if there isn't a love story, I actually probably don't care.
Uh-huh.
So I want there to be a love story kind of centrally located in
Yes.
the plot,
Yes.
but not having to be like the only thing in the story. I want there to be some other version of the story. So actually your book, After That in the Dark,
There you go.
is a
It's
very good
great
example of
I'm
this.
biting my tongue.
No. That is a very good example of that. So yes, that is my answer, which is not a very helpful answer. 'Cause it's not like a genre you could go to the bookstore
And get no, but I feel like actually I'm going to be so grumpy again and say that that used to be called novels.
Yes,
Like-
yes, I agree.
Like, so maybe the answer is like anything written from like the 1800s
Until-
until about 1920 when
Yes.
modernism
Yes,
started ruining everything. Because like it is true. If there's not like, I will even say kind of like a family being created or
Yeah.
maybe
Right.
being created or trying to be created.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't. What's the point? Like
Right.
nothing
Yeah.
matters. But also when you talk like actual romance novels are kind of dull a lot of the time because I don't know why is that?
Well, it's so formulaic, and
Sure.
you know exactly what's gonna happen and how it's gonna happen.
That and like part of the excitement of a love story is that you sometimes have to go off and do other stuff, and you're
Yeah.
like, but when are they going to get to
And are
that?
they? Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
always have to have a love story, and like Trollope always has a love story. And,
Yeah.
Yes.
Dostoevsky always has some sort of fraught emotional, like Tolstoy.
What
Yeah.
life is about.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like the genre called all books.
Called novels. Yes.
So my model for everything is always Shakespeare, because I just
Mm.
love Shakespeare, and obviously only Shakespeare, but it is a genre, and this is the genre it is.
Mm.
It is a genre in which of fast action, exciting, sword fights and disguises and battles and all this stuff, and yet it peers into the human soul, right? And so I find that in modern novels, I find that most often in genre novels, like in thrillers and detective, very few people do it well, but a few do, and that's what I really like, and I can always go back there. But as you say, that used to be what almost all fiction aspired to be.
Yes.
And I just think the depth in Shakespeare doesn't stop the fact that it's about dueling and
Right.
people climbing up balconies and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
that's what I hate is when somebody says, this book is more than a thriller. And I go, yes, but is it also a thriller? Because if it's not thrilling, it's not a thriller.
Necessary but not sufficient.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to do. And we had a chat online about The Woman in White, which is the book that
Yes.
taught me how to do that in the thriller form. That's what I love.
Yeah. I only have a good answer for this in like modern contemporary novels. I think like something about just ancient literature is so generically diverse, to use the worst word in the world. Like it's so rich that it's hard to even like pigeonhole most things in one genre or another. But in modern writing, I like science fiction that is only one like step removed from what's actually going on right now. So the classic example on TV would be Black Mirror, right? Every
Right.
Black Mirror episode
Yeah.
is a thing that like if you made one invention more than what we have,
Yeah.
you would be in this crazy dystopian nightmare, right? So like Project Hail Mary is a good example of this, and especially if it's written by somebody that actually understands human beings and is not just like using them as pawns in a thought experiment. Like I just read this book, What We Can Know by Ian McEwan, which is also sort of like this,
Yeah.
My mom liked that book too. I
Mhm.
have to read that.
Well, it has one supremely annoying feature, which I can say without spoiling it.
Oh, really?
It's just the premise of,
Yeah.
of the book is that like global warming has destroyed the world.
Okay.
And that
As if. yeah.
exactly. So this is incredibly sanctimonious and annoying. Right, yeah. But he uses it as a device for like, just novels of ideas, I guess is like the way to
Right.
describe this, and most novels of ideas now are science fiction.
That's true.
But in ancient literature, epic, I guess, I love epic poetry, which is a genre that counts. Cool, okay. let's go back to this one. What new writing projects, if any, are you all looking forward to completing next year? Can we talk
Can
about
we
that?
share those things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't often talk about
Yeah.
things.
Okay,
Yeah.
we don't have to.
Yeah, let's skip that
We can
one.
pass that over. Okay.
But there are some.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Here's one from the chat. Somebody said Middlemarch, which is an example of your kind of book, maybe. Except you.
I can't get into Middlemarch.
Really?
Ah.
I love
Yes,
Middlemarch.
I know.
Interesting.
I can see what a genius
Yeah.
she is.
Yeah.
I can see that it is a work of
It's a
genius.
work of genius,
And
yeah.
so I feel that in that sense I'm not completely
Yeah.
praised, but it doesn't have somehow the nearness to the characters that I want. I
Ah.
feel that I'm being held at a remove at all times
Yeah.
when I'm reading that book, and therefore I don't love it the way that I should. But I recognize that this is a deficit on my part. So whoever said that, like I recognize that this is my own problem.
But it is interesting, whenever I make the point that of the 10 greatest novelists, there are very few novels who are just like, you want to read everything Dostoevsky wrote, you
Yes,
want to read
yes.
everything Tolstoy wrote, you know. The only female is Jane Austen among that group. You want to read everything she wrote because it's all Jane Austen. And everybody immediately says, well, what about, you know,
What about
Georgia?
Middlemarch?
And I think, yeah, Middlemarch.
Right.
There are many, many great women novelists who wrote one great novel, which is no small thing. It's a tremendous thing to have done. But I'm just talking about that top tier
Yeah.
who just produce one thing after another. And I thought the rest of George Eliot is fine,
Mhm.
but nothing that comes anywhere near what Middlemarch is.
Yeah.
I think so what you said. She is distant.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so there is one, maybe we can answer quickly while I'm pulling them up. In the chat, what are you reading currently? This person says, I'm reading The Big Sleep, so I can understand Andrew better.
I am legitimately reading After That the Dark.
Yes.
And I'm like 20 pages away from the end, and it's wonderful and you should buy it. But that is actually what I'm reading.
I will say, it does have a love story and
It
a little
does.
bit of science fiction that you were talking about.
Yes,
That's
it's
like
the
one
perfect
little
book,
thing.
actually,
Yeah.
as it turns out. It's the perfect book. That's what I'm reading.
Now, this is the time of year when I start reading, when I put aside all my research, because I've been reading really, really heavy books all year, and I read some really great ones, but they were heavy.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm reading a John le Carre book that I didn't even know existed, except as a title. But it's so fascinating because I think le Carre is one of the great novelists, great English novelists of the end of the 20th century. And his work, especially during the Cold War, is like untouchable. And he wrote, the book that made him famous was a book called The Spy Who Came in from the Cold. And what made him famous about it is that it took the James Bond genre and said, no, this is a dirty, lousy business that destroys everything it touches, and we're all dirty, and we're almost as bad as they are, but not quite as bad, so we have to fight them. You know? And it was that kind of cynical thing.
Yes.
And after he wrote that and became very successful, he thought, you know what, that book is a lie, because it's still a spy novel, and it doesn't capture the fact that this is the stupidest, you know, waste of time. It's a bunch of British people thinking that they're still important as America takes over the world. And it was already, so he wrote this complete just attack on the genre itself, in the genre, called The Looking Glass War. And it bombed. And it was recently reissued because now it's kind of been rediscovered for its cynicism.
Sure.
And he put a little essay up in front saying, you know, I should never have listened to my American editors and made it even more interesting than it was. And it's not the most interesting book, and I can't recommend it to anybody, but as a writer, watching the guy react to his own success by shooting himself in the foot, which is what almost all of us do. I did it, and I think a lot of people do it. It's just fascinating because he's really good, and it really is an interesting look at the spy novel as non-spy novel. You know, it's just really fascinating.
Well, I am fast becoming what they call a weeb, which is a white guy that's obsessed with Japan.
Oh.
So I'm just finishing A Brief History of the Samurai by Jonathan Clements, which is awesome. The Samurai is like, if you watched Shogun, the TV show, and you thought, this is obviously Hollywood fakery and nothing this dramatic could ever happen in real life. In fact, it was that insane. It was that dramatic. This, you know, it stretches back to their like foundational creation myths all the way up through this enormous medieval Game of Thrones,
That's cool.
into fine. It sort of ends with the Meiji Restoration, which is what creates Tokyo as the definitive capital of Japan and kind of modernizes or begins to modernize the country. So really the history of Japan is sort of the history of the samurai, which is incredibly cool. One of the reasons why I love the country. So after that, I'm going to read a novel called Kokoro, which is a classic Japanese novel. I'm going to try and read it in Japanese, and we'll see
Whoa,
how that goes.
I have to say, I did read Shogun, and your recommendation for it was absolutely.
It's so good.
great. Yeah,
It's so
just
good.
Totally good.
Oh, James Clavell, the OG weeb, the white guy captured in World War II, I think. Yeah, and comes away with just
His book on his captivity called King Rat is really good too. It's probably his most literary novel.
Yeah. Because he had this incredible thing where he was obviously shell-shocked, deep in PTSD for many years and never spoke about the experience, like ever. And then suddenly began writing about it and produced this huge Asian saga. First of which I think is King Rat, and then Shogun is somewhere. Yes, very, very worth reading. Now sold in 2 volumes, so they can charge you twice.
Which I like because I can say, well, I read 2 books.
Exactly. Okay, cool. So I really like this one, and I haven't prepared for it, so we'll see what comes up. But for Faith, what is something you learned from Spencer? And for Spencer, what is something you've learned from Faith?
Okay, shall I go first?
Yes, if
I'm
you.
prepared.
Okay.
I mean, like, I can think of an answer.
Okay,
if you want.
great, yeah,
Okay,
go ahead.
great. Well, back to what was perhaps the first, or maybe one of the first questions, and people might not know this, but Spencer, when I was baptized
Yes.
at the age of, I think, 35,
Mm-hmm.
Spencer was/is my sponsor, which is really fun to say, Spencer is my sponsor. And which I guess means that you're basically my godfather,
Yes.
but like, we don't have to deal with
Yeah, super
weirdness
weird.
and all that. Yeah, exactly.
it's
So
just
you're
from
my
having to be-
sponsor instead. So I think everything about my sort of faith journey and I feel like I still come to you with like, wait, what's this? Like, what do I do about that? And things like that. So I feel like the things that I've learned many things from you, but I feel like the thing that comes to my mind is that you are in fact my sort of like go-to
Guru.
mentor for
Theology.
theology,
Wow.
and I feel like you're my safe space to talk about that, and like, and you take that job seriously, I think, and so I feel very happy that you're that person in my life.
No, yeah, I'm very honored by that and love those conversations a lot
Yeah.
that we have. Also going back to the previous question, I think that I've learned by example, but also sort of explicitly from you, like how to be a good member of a family. Like, if that makes sense. Like if I didn't have a sister like you, I would probably be much more like of a recluse.
Okay.
And I think that I have seen, like, you are the person in our family who, like, that you talked about being intentional and making this effort, and like who sort of oversees the, like, because we all like each other very naturally.
Yeah.
Like, we don't make that effort automatically, and I think you are the person who's like shown me that this is like an art, you know, and I've like learned that a little bit from you and from watching you and talking.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
I just would like that. I've learned nothing
Nothing.
from either of
Yes.
you.
Okay.
That's actually another question that I'm not going to ask you, is what was it like raising 2 exceptionally gifted children?
Oh my gosh.
Expensive. It was
Yeah.
He
expensive.
doesn't know what those are. Who they are.
Yeah, right.
No, you haven't,
Wait
you
till
haven't,
then.
you haven't met them.
Oh, right.
yeah,
right.
exactly.
It's a shadow
I
family.
have to say, it was raising children for someone like me was really interesting because, you know, when you're a writer, you're just like, so you're completely in your own head.
Right,
And like, but someone, in fact, the psychiatrist who saved my life once said to me, he said, you are a bizarre combination of a completely narcissistic artist and a Jewish paterfamilias who cares deeply about your family. I thought, that's not a bad combination, I can live with it.
Yeah.
But yes, these are exceptional people, and I knew they were exceptional people. And you, it was interesting, I always identified with you because you had that same weird thing that I have of feeling the grass grow.
Yeah.
Like you feel every little change in the weather, and that was really, it was challenging, but I was at least prepared for it by having the same thing. And with you, because of your obscene intellect, you know, I knew it was like having a kid who throws a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. I knew that I was going to have to spend an awful lot of money, which you'd never pay me back.
No, close. Are
You won't
kidding?
even think of it
No, I pay
to make sure you got the coaching that you deserve.
I pay you back in sparkling wit and scintillating insight.
That's
Yeah, exactly. And intellectual disdain.
exactly.
Yeah.
I want my money back.
Yeah. It's just people don't appreciate me. It's like, I don't know why.
Your contribution.
Oh boy. Well, this I feel like this might be a question for Faith
Okay.
or for all of us. I love to read, but have never been successful sticking with an organized way to keep track of books I have read. Is there a significant reason to do so?
Oh,
And what have you found to work for you? Maybe this is slightly different.
I don't know. I mean, I don't do that.
Okay.
I keep a list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I keep a list. First of all, because you know you constantly say, you know, where's your year-end list of books that you like?
I do.
And, yeah, for Claremont.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I put it to
And that's why I have to have my list. But I keep a list so I can go back once or twice. In fact, recently I thought I'm going to read this book which I've never read. Started reading it. This sounds familiar. I went back and in fact I had read it and just totally forgot it. So yeah, I keep a list. I find it very helpful actually.
Yeah, no, I have one on my notes app on my phone.
Yeah.
Which, is definitely, I didn't always do that, but now, I do on, Heretics, I did the Inklings Award for literary fiction.
Oh.
So things that I've read in the year that seem good, like actually good,
Yeah.
that came out. There's one for, I forget what the different awards are, but like there's one for classics, and then there's one for actual new fiction that came out that was good.
I should keep track, but I don't.
Sure, right. No, I think it's like, it's a relatively low effort investment that
Yes.
pays, that can come in very useful. We've gotten a lot of questions about video games in
Oh,
the
okay.
chat. So yeah, I have something to say about video games from this year. Fellow weeb, I've got that book on. The first video game question is, are you playing any video games right now at this time?
Well, I mean, this is
At this juncture.
This is an interesting question for me. I finished, the first video game I finished, I think in years, was that Expedition 33 or Clair Obscura, which you recommended, and I just thought it was really-
beautiful. It's so good.
and the music is so good.
Yeah.
It's months and it's still in my head. So I wanted this. I mean, it's just insane the way it's.
That's the concert.
But I thought like, gee, I'd forgotten how much I enjoy a good video game. Because I find most of them repetitive now, and I'm just not that interested in playing the whole thing about my experience with video games is started with Pong. And then like suddenly I was thinking, oh my God, these things are so amazing. And then it kind of leveled off in terms of creativity. But this one was really good. And so I thought, well, I'd like another one. So I'm playing, I got this game. I like these puzzle games, and I like them to be puzzles that move.
Yeah.
I don't like them to just be puzzles. Like I want them to be active puzzles. And this one is called something like the Blue Room or Blue something. Unfortunately, but you build the house. So I started playing it, and you have to build this house you get these rooms, and you have to start to arrange them one at a time. And I was not paying very close attention, so I arranged them in a circle, and they just came to an end after about a half an hour.
Okay.
So I thought I have to go back and start this again. It was kind of entertaining.
You're really making
You're
a
selling
great
it,
pitch
yeah.
for this game. Like, it's
But, well,
awesome.
the Expedition 33 was really the
I can't get
first
over the game.
really good one. Yeah.
I haven't gotten invested in the game.
No.
I mean, the last time I was that invested in a game was when I played Final Fantasy VII for the first time, and that's an ancient game. But during COVID, I just got really into it. And I can't remember there was some like Twitter critical mass where all these people I know were playing it, and then I started playing it and was just completely blown away. Because it's, like modern games, this is again very crotchety to say, but modern games are made for people who were raised with intravenously with video games in their umbilical cord, and so they're either incredibly fast-paced, frenetic, like spastic, everything everywhere all at once, or they are endless open world
Yes.
games. And I'm a grown adult and I don't have time to play that much. Video game.
It's very rare I have any kind of philosophical objection to a work,
Yeah.
but I hear people that do these things where they farm, where they build things, and I
yes.
just think, go outside.
Farm,
Farm is
yeah,
wrong
yeah.
with you,
No, it's like if you just hack away at like the bench press instead of at the Minecraft dirt, then yes.
Yeah.
I hear you. I'm now playing the Ninja Gaiden
Oh,
like
yeah.
2T game, which is pretty good. But if people haven't played Expedition 33, they really should. We have another question from I assume this is from a kid, maybe not, but the 3 rapid fire questions. Do you like pumpkin pancakes?
No.
That was a
What's
rapid
wrong with
fire
it?
answer,
Yes,
really.
exactly.
Okay, but that was it.
Yeah.
Also no?
I've never had a pumpkin pancake. I've never even heard of such a thing.
How did I end up in this family?
Do you have to carve faces in them?
No, there's a jack-o'-lantern pancake. It's pumpkin flavored
But if
pancake.
you like pumpkin pancakes, I think that's awesome.
That's great.
That's really cool.
Pumpkin pancakes are the best and delicious.
There you go.
This is like pumpkin spice latte. It's like everything
No.
for certain season. Okay. Do you like cats?
Cats?
Yes.
Yeah, I like cats, but I love dogs.
Yes,
I mean, I
dogs
love
are
dogs. I
Yeah.
really do feel that God should have stopped the dog. The whole world, if they just give them opposable thumbs, the whole world would be like, here, come I love you.
Blissful. It's true. Opposable thumbs, linguistic ability. Oh, great.
But cats are good too.
Yes.
But
We also
I like cats.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love cats. We
You
have
have
a
a cat.
You have a
I
cat.
have a cat.
Yes.
The last question is, do you have any pets? And I have a cat. And I've come to feel through this cat that cats and writers really understand each other.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is very true.
Both pathological narcissists, also desire connection, but not to talk to you or be
Yeah.
next to you.
Mhm.
You know, it's
Yes.
like a
Yeah.
sort of.
I have to say that
Yeah.
I had a cat, the cat that I loved most was a cat named Kretsch.
Uh-huh.
And Kretsch, when I was just starting out, there were no computers and you
Mhm.
couldn't really write on a typewriter because it was just too complex. So I wrote with a pen and I wrote 4 hours every day. Started at, 6 and ended at 10 every single day.
Mhm.
And Kretsch would sit there like a vase.
Mhm.
Vase on my desk and watch me write. And 4 hours would come home and she'd go, just take it. I love that idea.
That's, no, the cats are terrific. And
Yeah.
Chad Cat, or Tank, my
Yeah,
cat,
yeah.
is not quite that. One thing Chad Cat does is he wakes me up. So my 4-hour stretches very, very early in the morning. And sometimes I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to,
Yeah.
whatever. And he will come and make sure, because he likes to go up to the office
Right.
with me while I'm working, and he
Huh.
will come and say, it's time, come on, get you out of bed. Apparently cats get worried that we're dead when we sleep.
No,
because,
really?
yeah, we sleep so much longer than they do. They
Yeah.
don't sleep for
Right.
long stretches of time, and so when you sleep a full 8 hours, your cat gets very concerned that you might have passed away.
Huh.
Oh dear.
Very.
That's very sad.
So many cats I know, if they thought I was dead, they'd have eaten me.
I was gonna say, do they care? Okay.
All 3 of you have a great love for literature. Where do your tastes differ? Does Faith not go for hard-boiled detective stories, or Spencer avoid ghost stories, these sorts of things?
Okay.
I think that my main thing is that even though I can enjoy fantasy and science fiction, I don't really turn to them at all. And you really like science fiction
And fantasy. Yeah,
And I like them in the movies.
Mhm.
I think they work in the movies, but I've never really liked reading them. Although when I look back, I've read all the classics. So
Yeah.
I don't, without realizing it. But I just don't have the feel for it. But I do like things that just have, like you were saying about Black Mirror,
Yeah,
that have one little twist in the
yeah,
tail.
yeah.
I mean, you guys read all kinds of intellectual things that I don't understand. So I feel like that's how
Sure,
our
non-fiction folk like that stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I'm left in the dark in that capacity, so I feel like that differs.
Yeah, I mean, I like, similarly to you with fantasy, I like detective novels. I don't seek them out or get a hankering for them. And I don't love like you want there to be romance in a book, but probably, I mean, if I think about, Jane Eyre is a great novel, but I don't sort of cathect to it in
Right,
the same way.
yeah.
I guess is one way of putting it. But I feel like a kind of equal opportunity. There's nothing I don't like literature wise.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's hard to
If
find.
it's good, I'll
Yeah,
like it.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
for sure, yeah. What else?
Okay. My cat loves loves Spencer's voice, or maybe just Homer. That's funny.
That's nice.
Yeah, or I put the cat to sleep. This is another possibility. Oh, somebody asked, and I'm actually really curious to know what the answer to this is. They said everyone in the Klavan family has great voices, but they said they particularly like listening to me, and they wanted to know if I sound like Papa. They said, I know your grandfather.
So here's the interesting thing. Now,
Yeah.
as you get older, your voice gets gruff and all that. So
Yes.
I'm getting a little of that. I like the way we say older instead of old. You
Yeah.
can't get much older than that. That's not it. But in our prime, you, me, and my three brothers and my father
Right.
all sounded exactly alike.
Yeah.
In our prime, we all sounded exactly alike, to the point that when we had answering machines with our voices on them, I never knew who it was. And when we would say hello on the phone, before there were screens, I never knew who it was. We sounded exactly alike. So
Yeah.
that's on, yes, and you sound, we all sound different to family, because family
Sure.
knows things, but we have twin voices.
I have heard that as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, that I sound like you, which I don't hear in
I
myself
don't hear that
at all.
either.
But
No,
yeah,
but on the phone, even I would think like, is that me?
yeah.
I'm calling myself.
Andrew may be one of the most important influences of my adult life. I watch him regularly and trust him deeply. I never read a detective story before. I read his a couple of years ago, and I'm a fan of that kind of writing too. Spencer's work has added layers of understanding to my perception of our culture and our world. What in the world do you guys talk about when you're together, say fishing at the beach? Do you talk shop, philosophy and literature, or is it more like it was like what was portrayed on black and white TV? What's the mix? What do we talk about when we're not?
Well, I have to say, I get a lot of flack. Maybe you don't hear that.
Oh, yes.
You do?
Oh, yes.
But when we get together, we tend to talk about things that nobody else wants to
Wants
talk
to talk
about.
about.
That's 100% true.
So I couldn't understand it. Last night at Thanksgiving dinner, we began a fascinating conversation about whether Catholic writing on beauty or Derrida's and Marxist writing on beauty.
Yes.
How could everyone not be
We have had to set aside
Yes,
whenever
yes,
we
we
are
have.
all together in the family. You and I have to find like a couple hours when to go away, because otherwise, and it is like it's hard to say this without sounding like a dork, but like there's not that many people to talk to.
This
about
is a real problem.
You know, like-
and by the way, we
Yeah.
have this Substack, the New Jerusalem,
Yes.
where we've been
Exactly.
we're trying to bring some of that conversation that everybody else hates to
Yes.
the public, so they can all
Inflicted on other people. Yes, equally
so everybody
insufferable.
can feel left out of the conversation. But because I'm very good at reading, I can read the New Jerusalem and see that there is something that we are just, our attitudes and our approaches
Yeah.
are just different enough to be complementary
Mm-hmm.
in a remarkable way. I think that we should actually do more of that.
I think we should too. Somebody whose taste I really respect told me it's the best thing on the internet. I can't say who it was,
Oh,
but it was, so
It is very good.
New
You should check
Jerusalem,
it out.
Okay, I'm gonna hop over to the chat again, just to see if, what is everyone's favorite Thanksgiving Day food? Oh, I have one, a
Me
very
too.
specific one. And did Spencer make jaw-dropping charcuterie board? Kind of.
Yes, you
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
And
yeah.
You put it on my afternoon tea tray, which was like
Exactly.
a whole new innovation, and like a sort of mashup of our.
It's
like,
true, and I have a picture which
interesting-
I should post.
Oh, you should.
Yeah.
Yes, it was very nice.
But favorite Thanksgiving food?
Cranberry bread,
Ah,
cranberry
easy.
orange bread
Yeah.
from.
Probably,
Family recipe.
I always like the yams.
Mm-hmm.
And the other day, the vice president made the speech where he said everybody's lying who says that they like turkey.
What?
I love turkey.
I don't like turkey.
No, I love turkey and gravy with stuffing. That whole.
I like
thing.
stuffing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The turkey yesterday was unreal, out of this world.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
Okay.
extremely not dry, which is, I'm trying not to say the word that everyone hates about meat, but it was very rich, and we took it out of the oven at just the right time. However, my favorite Thanksgiving food is the bacon that gets wrapped around the turkey.
Oh, bacon is always.
It's impossible to, it's hard to.
We're running out of time.
We are, I know, we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah.
So there some sort of like really heartwarming question? that
Concluding.
Yeah, some kind of Christmassy.
Yeah.
I think we've been heartwarming.
We've been very
Yeah,
charming.
My heart is
Yeah, exactly. I feel my heart
Maybe,
is
maybe
warm.
just having a
Your heart is
attack.
I'm just glad these books haven't fallen down on your head.
That is impressive. That is impressive.
I think we should close on this heartwarming
Okay.
question. Do you like Mickey Mouse?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, who doesn't like pumpkin pancakes?
I've never had a pumpkin pancake.
Okay, well, you're off the hook until we get you one. But
Mickey Mouse is great.
Mickey
We
Mouse
love
is
Mickey
the
Mouse.
best.
Yes.
Yes, and we love all of you.
And we love all of you.
Yes.
We really do. We're so thrilled that you come and talk to us and that you're following us and all that. And we hope you have a wonderful Christmas season. And I will do a Christmas show on at the Daily Wire.
Great.
And you have a Christmas.
Yes,
Story.
it's Christmas. It's been Christmas season since
You're
November
round.
on Storytime
Yeah,
for Grown-ups,
right.
but now it's really Christmas time on Storytime for Grown-ups.
And
So
and
check that
Spencer
out.
will come and bring presents to all of the little
Good boys and girls.
Oh, wow. All right. It's going to be like books in your stocking. No, I will do a end of year literary roundup, the Inkling Award. The Inkling Awards for best literary fiction
Excellent.
will come out on your Heretics, this very channel that you're watching on right now at some point. Okay.
Thank
Happy
you.
Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Okay. I think I have to close it out on the phone.
We'll stare awkwardly.
Yes.
Zero.
Hello, everyone. Goodbye.